what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
Yes, they are. Happy Sunday, people. We all made it. It's Weird Week, and we actually have a really good show today. It might be a long one. It might not. I was kind of unable to gauge how long this show is going to take, but it is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to get into it with you guys. I hope you've all been doing well. It is approaching the Thai New Year, Songkran, and it's actually one of the reasons why I came here, and I realized that I'd completely forgotten about it because I've just been so locked in. But hopefully in the next couple of days, we'll be out and about enjoying that and getting amongst the culture, because since I've been here, it's basically been all gas, no breaks when it comes to Polarity. So time to maybe take a couple of days off, but we've got some good stuff to get through first. Before we do though, observing beyond the looking glass, you little weirdo. Thank you very much for becoming a member. Corrupt NPC, thank you for gifting a membership, sir. Always appreciate your generosity. Paul Cornelius with 6 months says, happy Sunday, weirdos. Thank you very much, Paul. Happy Sunday to you. Rambro gifted 5. Rambro, thank you, my man. Thank you very much. Kelly Hall also put in $20 and said, let's go Weird Week. Thank you very much, Kelly. Man, you guys are on fire today because it's the weekend and you know that we have an exciting show to get into. So let's not waste any more time and make sure we are set up. Actually, I wanted to start off the show today with a reminder for you guys. Something that if you watch the show, you already are aware of this, but I think it's important to remind people, and for anybody that has joined maybe in the last couple of months, maybe this year. I don't even think we've reminded ourselves this year that the SR-71 Blackbird, this marvel of engineering, was built in the 1950s. Okay. And so when people start saying, oh, there's no way this technology could be ours, you just show them this picture and say this was built in the 1950s. Now, some people argue that it was actually built in the 1960s. And to that, I would say, does it really matter? But the reason why we say the 1950s is because this plane was first revealed to the public in 64 and entered service in 66. So to me, that means, you know, when this operated at high speeds, Mach 3.2 at 85,000 feet. Like, this thing literally is a spacecraft. So guys, you got to remember, we are in Thailand. If the stream freezes, you're just going to have to refresh it. There's not much I can do, unfortunately. But it is important that you do remember that the SR-71 was built in the 1950s, and that this is a great argument when people say, how could this technology be ours when this is the things that we were making 3/4 of a century ago? 3/4 of a century. And, you know, then, and that was followed up by this thing, by the way, in the 70s. In the 70s, we built this thing. And we are what, you know, 50 years on from this now. And we've never really had like another stealth plane, stealth fighter to this degree, like declassified. So, you know, you can only wonder what these things look like that they're working on, what they're capable of. And that is kind of what we're going to be talking about in the show today. So we're going to start off with a couple of UFO sightings that I thought were interesting from the week. Not too many, but we'll start with this one.
Look at that. Holy shit, what is that? I am. That's not a plane. That is not an airplane. You see it? That's not a satellite and that's not an airplane. I've never seen anything like that before. God. There's no FAA lights on it.
So to me, this I thought this was a really interesting video. Again, I mean, right there, it's so bright and there's obviously no flashing. It's like a consistent light. And I find these videos some of the most interesting, but at the same time, you can kind of pull the least from them because to us, it's just a really bright light in the sky. What do we make of that? Like, what do we make of that? Who, like, is it ours? Is it something interdimensional? Is it something appearing as a bright light to us? But that's just because that's the only way we can perceive it. I don't know. But to me, this is far more interesting than most videos because you have a full frame of reference here. Unlike some of the videos that the Bledsoes are putting out, which we're going to get to later in the show. We've got a lot of Orbs stuff in today's show. But I think this one is good because it's uncropped. You can see the foreground. You can see the background. You have a frame of reference and you can hear the person reacting. You can hear the dog panting. You know, like there's just so much in it that I think adds to the video that isn't necessarily about the UFO. Prison Mike gifted a membership. Thank you very much, sir. And he says, don't forget the B-21 Raider released to us this year. That is true. That is true. We did get a stealth bomber that literally looks exactly like a UFO, by the way. When you look at that thing side on, front on, if you didn't know that it was like a chevron shape, it could easily just look like a disc with a little bulb at the top. It's kind of crazy, right? It's almost like they're laughing at us, people. It's almost like they're just fucking with you because it's funny. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, here we go. If you guys didn't notice as well, X now has an auto translate feature. So I've noticed that this week, I've just been automatically getting way more posts from other countries that are being translated into English, which before was not the case. Here we go. This here is undeniable, my friends. Always a bit of a red flag when a post starts like that, in my opinion. I saw this triangular craft hovering in the sky and spinning north of Idaho near Lake Pend Oriel right after dawn. It seemed to be floating without making any noise. My animals got agitated by its presence and then it disappeared in a matter of seconds. I was scared, but also fascinated. I felt privileged that they let me see them. Let's watch this. Annoying dogs turning you down. So I thought this video was good enough to show. I won't lie though. When I don't know if it's because of the video that I put up earlier in the week, but when I first saw this frame, for some reason, let me see if I can punch in. For some reason, I was looking at this. I thought it was like a giant chevron cloud again, like the Yukon video that we put out this week. And I was just staring at this thing for a while, going like, it's not really moving. And then I realized it was this thing here. So anyway, it's interesting because again, it's a pretty real. The video seems like pretty authentic, and we're seeing this triangle just rotate on its own axis very slowly. Like this sort of looks familiar. I feel like I've seen this in maybe some other videos. I don't know. No reaction from the person filming, but I mean, I know from my own experience, and I'm curious how you guys feel about this, is when filming something alone, I don't think speaking out loud is always like the first thing that you do. I mean, some people might, but I think when you're in a real state of shock, you're almost like a bit speechless, right? And you're just kind of like filming. At least I was when I filmed my orb. I didn't say anything because my mind wasn't thinking about that. Like I knew no one was around me, so I wasn't thinking about like what should I say or you know what I mean? Like my mind just wasn't even there. It was like just totally fixated on what I was looking at and trying to film it. I don't know if anyone resonates with that, but that's kind of what it was like for me. And obviously, I feel like something like this would be even more fascinating. Like you'd be even more locked in. Few people saying this one was debunked. Possibly. But I'm always a bit sus on some debunks because I feel like unless you see the actual source video file, you can kind of, I feel like anyone with enough knowledge and, you know, a professional debunker would have that. Anyone with enough knowledge can make you believe that what you're seeing is fake, I think. And we're going to get to that in this stream as well. We're going to talk a little bit deeper about that. But let's keep going with the news. Just first, though, Zayas the Ape, you little freak, thank you for becoming a member. Toxic Fart says it's UFO plus dog video night. No, that just those two, actually. And Bleak has gifted a membership. Thank you very much, Bleak, my brother. It was Mick West. Yeah, we're going to hear from Mick West a little bit later. Mick West is kind of, you know how we have uncles on the show, you know? And by the way, can I just say that I was calling people like David Icke, Robert Dean, Ross Coulthard. I've been calling these people uncles of the show before unk became a word, before unk became like a word that young people use, I think. And they kind of use it in like a slightly derogatory way to people older than them. That's absolutely not the context here on the show. Okay, uncle is a sign of respect, and I've just lost my light, and that's okay because we're going to the next part of the show. Perfect. So another little update from Tim Burchett this week talking about the hybrid breeding programs. This clip's only a couple of minutes, but he's asked about disclosure in general and what he thinks of it and if it's coming. And it seems like
no way, no how. But then you've been making the rounds saying some of these claims are not as crazy as they might appear.
That's true. Matt was actually briefed by a member of our military in uniform on that subject. But, you know, I've heard a lot of wild things. I've been in, let's just say, I've been briefed by a lot of high-ranking officials. And the thing I want to warn people about is there's a word called PSYOP, or two words, I guess. And
yeah, there is. There absolutely is a word called PSYOP when we're talking about UFOs and disclosure.
And these agencies, a lot of them are just chasing dollars, and they would laugh at me when I would talk to them about UFOs or UAPs, which is a complete distraction. I just go UFOs, and now they've seen that the polling of the population of this great country believes that we are not alone, and there is something extra out there, and so now they see dollars, and so now all of a sudden, a lot of these alphabet agencies are putting stuff out. I would warn people, if you don't see it with your own dadgum eyes, don't believe it. I just think.
Put that on a t-shirt. If you don't see it with your own dadgum eyes, don't believe it. And it's like, how far do you take that? I think we were having this conversation in Discord just yesterday or something where, you know, we've spoken about the idea, and I spoke about it with Chris as well. That podcast is coming out tomorrow. You can go check that out. About the fact that, like, there are so many things that we believe that we collectively agree on that we don't actually know. And that it's like, where do you draw that line? You know, like we talk about NASA, right? We're gonna look at Artemis soon as well. About, like, you know, is space even real? We all kind of collectively agree on it. And I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm saying we don't actually know. We're just getting given this information and assuming we can trust it, and then collectively kind of coming to like a consensus at this point, right? Like, okay, yeah, like space is real, but then you keep going, you start getting into like aliens and UFOs, and now you're sort of like breaching the consensus on what we collectively agree upon, even though we kind of have an equal amount of like hard verification between space and aliens. Both of those things are things that we have just been told about, and we all kind of collectively agree upon one, and then the other one we don't. But really, we don't actually know about either of them because we haven't been there and experienced it ourselves. So it's like, at what point do we draw that line? Because if we only spoke about the things that we actually knew, that we'd verified ourselves with our own eyes, we wouldn't really be able to talk about much. Because so much of what we speak about, like, even like, this is an extreme example, but like even Trump, I've never met Trump. I've never seen him. For all I know, he could be a hyper advanced AI, part of this like political scheme to just keep people going around in circles in like a psyop, like he's just a figure. I'm not saying that's the case, and I don't think that, but it's an example that, like, it's just something that we all kind of collectively agree upon that steers the conversation and like the narrative that we're given.
I think that there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And the only dadgum person that's going to be able to put this out is Donald J. Trump.
The AI.
And
the AI that I just spoke about, yes.
He has to, because you're not going to get the scientific, you're not going to get these bureaucrats that are know-it-alls, and everybody's, and there's a economic component to it, and there's also an arrogance component.
So it's only the president really who could get this done.
Yeah.
Two last questions before I let you go. One,
Right.
do you think that we will have disclosure of whatever information we have regarding the UFOs?
No, we will not have disclosure.
My man just said it. He didn't even think or hesitate with that one. That wasn't even like a tough question for him. He could barely get his answer out before he'd finished asking the question.
I don't think so. I just don't. I think it's too deep, and I think it's too strong. And they're going to claim military intelligence. You know, it weakens our military, which is what the Schumer bill did. And so, anyway, heck no, we're not going to ever.
Is my guy just ripping the vape mid interview with like a politician? Oh no, it's a cigar. My guy's smoking a fat cigar while having a virtual interview with a politician. Wow.
Which is what the Schumer bill did. And so, anyway, heck no, we're not going to ever get it. They don't want it out. And I don't think I'll have it on this side of eternity. Maybe my daughter's generation will hear something, but I just don't. I'm going to keep busting their ass on it, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm a flagrant fence swinger, dude. I swing for the fence every dadgum time.
I love it. You got to love Tim Burchett's energy and his honesty. That he thinks it's too deep. And like, I kind of agree with him. Someone asked me this the other day, and I basically said the same thing. I think it's just so... I know. I actually think we're going to get some kind of announcement. I do think that. But I don't think it's going to be anything like a full disclosure. It's perhaps going to be some acknowledgement, but it's not going to be a reveal. I think that's a big distinction in disclosure, that there is like an acknowledgement. There's an acknowledgement of it, and then there's a reveal of it. I don't think we're ever going to get a reveal. I think we might get an acknowledgement and some kind of I don't know. I don't think it's going to be anything like what we want it to be or expect it to be. So I think people are still going to be upset. But that's one of those things that I want to be wrong about, but that's just kind of how I feel about the situation right now. Because and the reason why I think that is because I think the phenomenon is so it's so connected and integral to the true nature of our existence. And that true nature is not sunshine and rainbows. That's what I think. And that doesn't mean you can't have a sunshine and rainbows time here. But that's not really either, I'm not going to say your purpose, but like that's not really whatever this thing is cares about. It doesn't care about that. I think we are sort of like a resource in some way. I don't really know, so I'm not going to try and go into it. But I think we're like a resource in some way, and it's like a sort of a dark reality. But I think the truth is that can still exist, and perhaps you can still find a positive side to the whole thing, in my opinion. Okay, this is an interesting one as well. Speaking of disclosure and, what's true and what isn't, the Bob Lazar documentary came out, and I don't know if you guys noticed it. If you don't use X, you probably wouldn't. Or maybe you would. I don't know. But a lot of people have noticed when you talk about certain people or certain events, you seem to get like swarmed with like narrative control in a way. And this person here, Steve Skojak, noticed this with Bob Lazar. This is what he said. I posted 4 simple words. I believe Bob Lazar. In the replies, I had people insulting me, attacking him, displaying indignation, and folks who seem to be on some kind of personal crusade against the man. Why is there so much angst over Lazar? His claims are limited in scope and not outrageous at all in the context of the wider world of ufology. They're full of qualifiers that are non-indicative of the I'm super in the know ethos of professional grifters like Greer. They comport with things that have come out through other eyewitness testimony and sensor data and disclosure since Lazar's original 1989 interview. The seething hatred for the man, considering his general disinterest in being in the center of attention in ufology, is baffling, unless there's something organized behind it. He admits he only worked at S4 for about 6 months. He says that a lot of the info he was given during that time may have been false, and he does not attempt to over-explain anything, and repeatedly states that he had only a basic knowledge of the technology they were asked to work on. He also says that the compartmentalization of the research made any real attempt at back engineering impossible. I'm curious how you guys feel about Bob Lazar, because I noticed this as well. Like I noticed this weird uptick right before. It was like the days leading up to the movie coming out. It was like suddenly everyone just felt like flaming Bob Lazar. And again, obviously, I don't know. I've never met him, so I can't verify it. But I do tend to believe him. And I understand that there are things like people can't verify this, people can't verify that, or whatever. But I think when you research this stuff, you realize that intelligence agencies have the ability and the track record of like going to sometimes great lengths to destroy someone's character, credibility, academic history, work history, career, whatever. Like they do that. We know they do that. There's been cases of them planting, illegal material on people's computers, right? Like if there's a will, there's a way. And if they don't want you saying something, or if you're trouble, there is quite easy for people who have like a backdoor access into everything you have to kind of ruin you, right? So I'm not saying that's what's happened here, but when you can't find someone's academic record or work history, to me, I'm not just going to be like, oh well, I guess he's a fraud then. It's kind of like, well, that would be a tactic that and that an agency would use to try and discredit someone. So, and doesn't mean he's telling the truth, but like, I feel like we just need to be aware of those things. Feels like sometimes people in this space pose an argument and it's like they forget that. So I think that's interesting. The other thing is, in Bob Lazar's interview with Chris Ramsey, which I haven't finished, by the way, I'm probably not even halfway. But there was a point where they're talking about the S4 photograph that came out. And I think Chris asked Bob something like, you know, how did you feel seeing this photograph? Did it kind of vindicate you? Did it make you feel like, you know, how did it make you feel? And I thought his response was just so genuine and authentic, because he was kind of like, well, not really, because like, I already know. You know what I mean? He's like, no, I wasn't like that excited. He's like, yeah, it's nice that other people can finally see it, but he's like, I already know. So like, I don't really care. Do you know what I mean? I was like, that is such a raw and authentic response that he's not like, you know, he's not being like, yes, finally, woo, you know, everyone believes me. He's just kind of like, I already know this shit. It's up to everyone else to, if they want to believe me or not. So I thought that was great. A few people have asked to do like a breakdown, or, you know, like a thoughts on that movie video, which maybe next week if I get some time. KK Loco gifted 10 memberships. KK, thank you very much. Let's get some love in the chat for KK. And Snail Burner with a sticker. Thank you very much, Snail Burner. All right, let's keep moving, because we got a lot to get through today. And sorry, bear with me. Okay, moving on. Something else that's really sus. And you know what? This is like supporting my idea of like, we're not going to get the real truth about the phenomenon, because it's just very dark and weird and tells a pretty, probably like hard to grasp story for most people. This is Ronnie Vinay, Brazilian UFO researcher, recently talking about the fact that the Varginha case might not just be little brown, red-eyed men from Zeta Reticuli, but they might actually be summoned beings from occult rituals from rich, wealthy families that lived in this town that were known to be doing these kind of things, which is interesting, you know, when you think about like Aleister Crowley doing rituals, contacting beings, and then drawing lamb, which kind of looks like a gray, and these beings kind of look like grays too. You know, it's all very strange. And it's very weird as well that when people start to get over, when people studying ufology start to, you know, their scope starts to shift more to like ritual summonings, entities, that's when like people seem to stop researching it at all, either by force or they just decide that it's like too real. But it seems like you're allowed to talk about little aliens from Zeta Reticuli all day. It seems like that's not really a problem. But when you start talking about ritual and occult stuff like that, that's when it's like, no, you don't do that. Don't do that. Anyway, Ronnie Vinay, map of animal mutilations in the state of Alagoas in Brazil. The attacks began just 1 month ago, but have already affected 8 locations. I spent 5 days in the region collecting data, speaking with residents, and was able to witness the community suffering up close. All right, let's take a look at this. Hopefully it's not too graphic for YouTube. This is where it took place. I think this state is like on the eastern coast, maybe a little bit north of Varginha, not super close. And, you know, okay, here we go. The animals are found with puncture wounds on the neck, under the forelimbs, and in the abdomen, with no blood or other traces around. The deaths occur completely silently. So, you know, this is wild to me, because you can clearly, can you guys see my mouse? Yeah. You can see 2 puncture wounds here in what this looks like the belly. So this is kind of like the inner thigh, which I think in like a human comparison, we have like a main artery here, right? Like we have a giant artery going down the sort of inner part of our leg. So which is like exactly the same thing here. I don't know if they have the same blood sort of network. Yeah, the femoral artery. But even if they don't, this is clearly like some kind of extraction of blood. The blood is clearly important. The blood is removed without leaving a drop. Okay, like that's why I think we know it's important, because there's not even a drop left behind when we see these cattle mutilations. This looks like one. Is that the neck? It's hard to tell what that is. We can probably get that off screen while we talk about it. But this is like the analogy that I used the other day, right? When we hear that there are people connected to ritual, connected to communicating with non-human intelligence, whatever that might be, okay, there could be something interdimensional, but there are people going back to Babylon, performing rituals, performing sacrifice, consuming blood to communicate with non-human intelligence. When we know that that's like a thing, because it's documented, and people are still apparently doing it today on little islands and in Hollywood, when we know that that's a thing, and then like the people in those elite rings are at the same time kind of gaslighting you into aliens not being real, but there is so much evidence of it. So then it's like, right, so you guys can obviously see all of this evidence, and you're apparently not interested in studying it, and you're actually just telling me that it's not real. Meanwhile, there are people doing rituals, communicating with non-human intelligence in your circles. It tells me that this cattle mutilation is directly connected to that. And if consuming human blood is like an elixir of life, apparently, it makes me think that maybe animal blood is like the LA Ice compared to the human Coca-Cola. And that when there's no Coca-Cola on the shelves, or, you know, it's in short supply, maybe you can't get Coke, so you settle for an LA Ice, because you just have like an insatiation. You're like, your thirst for blood is just completely insatiable. And because that's what the Native Americans spoke about. The Native Americans, I can't remember. Okay, I think we're back. God damn this internet. When you drink human blood, the Native Americans believe that you forfeit your soul. You know, you become something less than man. And you also then get this insatiable thirst for human blood. Now, I would imagine human blood is not the easiest thing to come by. Obviously, if you're in Hollywood, you can, you know, just go to your local dealer. But it's probably, you know, it's probably not an easy thing to come by, and therefore stocks would probably run low. And then you get some LA Ice. You get some LA Ice. That's what I think. I could be completely wrong, and I hope I am, by the way. But we're just theorizing with the data we can find. That's all we're doing. Speaking of drinking human blood, we've got an update here from Big Ben.
שוב ושוב להתייצב נגד ישראל.
Okay, is it?
מי שתוקף את
Yeah, it's in
מדינת
It's in Arabic. It's in Arabic, so we'll read it. If you had to imagine what a demon would look like if it was in like a human's body, I just think it probably would look something like this. I'm not saying he's a demon, by the way. But if there was one in human form, I actually do think it would probably look something like that. I really do. Okay, what's Big Ben saying? The state of Israel will not remain silent in the face of those who attack us. Ironically, I feel like those people are probably saying the same thing. Spain has slandered our heroes, the soldiers of the IDF, the soldiers of the most moral army. What? Let me just, am I right? Huh. Okay. I just had to zoom in case my eyes were deceiving me. And therefore, I've instructed to expel Spain's representatives from the coordination center in Kiryat Gat after Spain has chosen time and again to stand against Israel. Whoever attacks the state of Israel instead of the terrorist regimes, oxymoron, whoever does so will not be our partner regarding the future of the region. I am not prepared to tolerate this hypocrisy and this hostility. I do not intend to allow any country to wage a political war against us without paying an immediate price for it. Someone buy this man a mirror. Someone buy this man a mirror. I do apologize, people. At least it's quite clear when I drop out. Normally it isn't. It is quite clear when I see it happening. I will pause for you and I will look into a wired option to try and stop this from happening. I'll go get an Ethernet cable. Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Crazy, isn't it? And look, I just included this just so you guys know, like, you know, this isn't just some unfounded dislike for Israel, by the way. It actually came from just seeing many videos like this, like this isn't just a isolated example. There's many. So just so you guys are aware, this isn't just me creating this out of thin air.
Now, does this guy actually believe it? I doubt it. He just thought it would get me angry. But what it actually was a fastball down the middle. And so I just excerpted his tweet and said, well, of course, Jews don't really participate in athletics. That's what we use to divert the energy of the Gentiles while we take over the systems of power.
Ha-ha! Laughing at the end. Ha-ha-ha! This is just how we keep the Goyim occupied. Ha-ha-ha! You gotta love sports ball, though. You do have to love a little bit of sports ball. You know, you can't take, like, we are Goyim, okay? This is who we are. You can't take the Goy out of the Goyim. We do enjoy a little bit of sports ball. But being aware of these things makes you realize that there are people in this world who literally manipulate your Goy tendencies to control you, okay? And by their own admission, it's not even a secret. They're literally laughing about it.
The systems of power.
Haha. So, you know, it's great. It's great that we're aware of these things. And it's important you understand that, you know, being a little bit concerned about Zionist influence on the West is a valid theory because they're literally laughing about the fact that they keep you occupied with sports and other Goyim attractions. Anyway, moving on. This is a nice segue. This is a nice segue into the Artemis stuff and into the orb content that we're going to look at. Both societies exist simultaneously, and it is incredible to think about this. It really is. And I've talked about this before. On the left, you have some footage that may or may not be real. You can make your own mind up about that. Of an astronaut on the ISS, orbiting space, you know, going further than most men or women ever have before. And then here you have a man bungee jumping into dirt. So these two cultures exist at the same time. So the reason why I'm showing you guys this is because I think it's important for people to look at this and then think about shifting an octave up and realize that there is, I think, a very high possibility for a culture to exist above this one at the same time. Because, you know, most of us, we don't really ever see this culture except for videos like this. We don't really interact with them. Their news is not our news. Their worries are not our worries. You know, we just don't. It's like they're adjacent. They're parallel. They're not integrated. I think there is absolutely the chance that there is an equally unintegrated, disconnected, parallel society, civilization that is small, that is here living alongside us, that is above this one, that has technology beyond this one. I really do think that. Call it a breakaway civilization, maybe. I don't know. But I think that is a reality, and it's just as wild as comparing these two, but just kind of looking the other direction. It's as simple as that, in my opinion. Here are some interesting pictures that came through. This is apparently some photographs of the Artemis mission as it was on its re-entry, which, if they're real, they're pretty cool. And it's sad that I have to say if they're real. And, you know, these kind of do look like real shots, but also AI is incredible at the moment, so it's hard to say. And that's what's sad. It is sad that I can't really fully enjoy the content that's coming out of the Artemis mission because I just don't know if I can trust NASA. Really, like, that's what it all is. It's like there's just so much bullshit surrounding the first moon mission and everything in between, the 60 years since, 70 years since, whatever it's been, of not going, then to suddenly go, we're in the middle of basically World War III, the most like unstable presidency of all time. Aliens are basically about to be announced as real. Everyone is basically having a meltdown because their jobs are getting stolen by AI. I think it's time to go back to the moon. Yep, you know what? Let's just launch this. Not even really a headline story. We'll just kind of do it on the side. And you know, we'll just go back to the moon. It seems like a really weird time. Amongst all the other bullshit on the moon landings, it just seems like a really odd time to do that. So, you know, it is sad. I really do wish I could enjoy these photographs a little bit more. But I still try to gaslight myself a little bit into being like, you know, they might be real. This one's nice if it's real. Good shot if real. And, you know, this is posted by the White House. So, you know, I guess it should be real. I think we're being told that it is real. But again, this just looks so weird. I don't know why. I don't know. And again, I've never been to the moon, so I can't say. I don't know what it's like to be in no atmosphere. But like this hard edge along here, seeing all the little bumps and grooves in this hard edge here like this, it's just, something just doesn't feel right, man. No stars either, which, you know, we're not going to have that conversation again today, but I really do think. Here's the thing. I understand that in some lighting conditions, maybe in most lighting conditions, the stars might not be visible. Okay, I'm happy to accept that. What I think is the most odd is that we absolutely would have the camera technology to take a photo, and it might mean the moon and the Earth is not as clear as possible because you might have to really adjust the aperture and the exposure. But we absolutely have the technology to be able to take a photo where we can see the light sources from the stars, as well as sort of seeing Earth in the picture as well, and the moon. We have that. So why not take one? Why not take one? It would solve, it would be a strong argument for your case. It would really help your case if you want to convince people that we went to the moon and that all of this stuff is real. Take a photo where we can see the stars. Just, okay, maybe your average camera isn't showing them. Show us one that does, and I'll shut up. Humanity from the other side. First photo from the far side of the moon, captured from Orion as Earth dips beyond the lunar horizon. April 6th, Earth set. Nice name. Pity I can't tell if it's real. Also, some footage of the re-entry. This is sped up. We don't really need sound for this one. Yeah. Hope it's real. Cool if it is. Definitely cool if it is. Ballistic damage says, last fall, I seen a bull elk that was mutilated. Stripped down to the bone from the neck down. No blood, and scavengers didn't touch it. Wow, that's interesting. I mean, crazy that you saw a cattle mutilation, and really interesting that like no bugs are trying to get at that. You know, like, what does that mean? Is there some kind of like residue or radiation or something left on it? Toxic Fart says, Bangkok Ben looking up Thailand nightlife slowing down his internet. The moon pics from Artemis look like a painted styrofoam kids' room's decoration. Yeah, I agree. They are a little bit sus. The pictures are sus. And it's definitely not the Thailand nightlife searches that are slowing down my internet. It's Baal. At this point, I think it's just Baal because it's wherever I go. Shogun Orta, thank you very much for the super chat. In that pic with the moon on the bottom and the Earth is in crescent, why is the moon so dark? Shouldn't it be bright like the Earth is bright? Bro, I know. And, you know, like, there's no point asking that question because, you know, people will have answers for you. But then it's just like, I don't even know if I can trust you, though. I don't know if I can trust your answer because, like I said earlier, sometimes people can baffle you with bullshit. And I'm aware of that. Like, this is how I think the MH370 videos were debunked by the Corridor crew. They used a lot of like technical jargon and their credentials as like weight in their words. So people, it's like the classic thing when someone goes to the mechanic, you know, stereotypically happens to females, but not always. Some girls know a lot more about cars than I do. But there's like the stereotypical thing of like a female getting a car fixed and like the mechanic will just sell her a bunch of bullshit that she doesn't actually need because she doesn't know. So it's easy to trick them. It's like the same, like that Corridor crew video of MH370. It's that same thing playing out. It's that they're using jargon. They're showing a few things, but like what they're showing, it's to someone who knows. It's kind of like, dude, that doesn't really make sense. Like, or at least that's not really a debunk to someone who knows. Like what you're saying makes sense. Like you obviously understand visual effects, but your point is not an emphatic debunk at all. It's far from it. But to the untrained ear, it would probably come across very convincing what you're saying. And last one, I thought this was cool because it comes from my hometown, Adelaide. Someone apparently caught the Artemis re-entry. So this is a re-entry video from Adelaide, and it's this little dot here to keep an eye on.
There it is, Artemis too.
Oh, fucking Jesus. No way.
No way.
No, Artemis. The spaceship.
No way.
No way. And they said that it couldn't be visible.
That's
your camera out, man.
crazy.
This is pretty interesting. And again, you know, you can't see much, but what I found interesting is that it does actually look so much like an orb. So I don't actually know. Who knows what this actually is? Maybe it's not even Artemis. I don't know. But apparently it is. And I found it interesting that it looks like an orb. And we're about to get into the Chris Bledsoe stuff soon. And Casey Musgraves as well, their orbs. But yeah, this was interesting. In broad daylight as well.
Go past the building.
can't see.
Yeah, wow.
I can't see. How do you go that close?
Josh, I'm disappointed with your lack of knowledge about space. All your arguments are silly. Well, Paul Shields, sir, I am sorry to disappoint you with my lack of knowledge, sire. But I'm not really arguing. I'm just asking questions because I don't know, right? So I actually agree that it's a lack of knowledge, but I'm not going to stop a lack of knowledge from asking questions. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still going to ask the question. And if someone can actually convince me with their answer, then I learned something. But by sitting here not knowing and not saying anything, then I don't learn and no one else in the chat learns either. All right. Speaking of orbs, we just got this one. We got this one from Christopher Lentz Bledsoe. And this is what he says. This is an up-close detail from my big camera recording in raw data of an orb taken at my home in North Carolina. Thanks to my friend Peter Osborne, Truth in Focus, for doing the video enhancements. More detailed videos coming soon. So this video has been enhanced by AI, I believe. That's the idea. And we're back. My apologies, team. We are battling Baal himself today, but we're back. Back to the weird week. Yvonne says that this looks like her uterus. Fantastic, Yvonne. Thank you for sharing that with the class. Okay, so we've got this here. Enhanced by AI. First of all, don't do that. First of all, please stop doing that. AI is not showing you what's actually there. It's trying to create what it thinks is actually there. And it's not trained on a data set of high definition orbs, is it? It's trained on the knowledge that is, readily accessible that we have, and that is not high definition real orbs, whatever they even are. So please stop doing that. Stop enhancing it with AI. But anyway, also stop cropping it. Please stop cropping it, because I would much rather see footage where I can see the trees, I can see some other stars in the background, where I can see the full frame, and where I can hear the environment as well. I think that makes for a far more compelling video. So this actually, this was interesting as well. This got reacted to on Joe Rogan. This is just a short clip.
Bledsoe. That's an orb that was over his house. High-res orb from Bledsoe. Look at that.
It's weird as shit. It does not look like any of those other things we've seen before.
Look at that thing.
And it just is weird.
Looks like a cell.
Who is Bledsoe?
Dude.
UFO researcher.
Who is Bledsoe? One does not simply talk about the orbs without referencing the Bledsoes. I can't believe, neither could Duncan Trussell. I can't believe that this man does not know the only people to ever have orb contact. You cannot talk about the orbs without referencing the people who brought them to your attention. This is actually a travesty. This is, I'm sure Joe's not getting saved. If you ask Ryan Bledsoe, Joe is going to hell for showing orbs and not even knowing about the people who brought them here.
Researcher guy?
Chris I've had him on my podcast. Bledsoe Said So. That's his podcast. He's fucking awesome. Dude, he's awesome. Yeah.
It is enhanced, it says, but I don't...
See, this is the enhanced one, which means the AI put in some kind of shadowy figure in the back. What
if this is just like a highly advanced species version of those balloons that kids have for parties?
I know, dude.
What if they just...
Don't say that, Joe. Don't say that, Joe. They are angels, and it's crazy that you're even saying that without first doing an acknowledgement of the Bledsoes and a thank you.
Send them down to people. That's what's fun. Like, you know how you blow bubbles? You have these dipping in the soap and you go, and the bubbles go flying in the air.
I know, dude.
Maybe that's a super advanced version
I mean,
of that.
it could just be, I mean, it does have a bubble quality.
A complete mockery.
To it.
But this is the other thing. It's like, why are we assuming that life is going to look anything like us once it gets to like a supreme state?
Exactly.
Well, that might be a living thing.
Right.
That might be an actual living thing that's disembodied and is made out of light.
Look at it. Look at that.
That's not a bad theory. I could get on board with that. But yeah, he's probably going to have to probably write a formal apology if he wants to be accepted by the. I'm actually shocked that he doesn't know who Chris Bledsoe is, though. Like, to be honest, because he seems to be pretty interested in the UFO topic. So I find it kind of crazy that he's saying he's never heard of Chris Bledsoe, but maybe he hasn't. Like, who knows? Maybe he's not that deep into it. Maybe he's just like a normie that's just like a little bit interested, but he's mildly schizophrenic like most people here in the live chat, and myself, of course. The most. Darko says UFOs and NATO, the human mutilation cover-up documentary that was quite eye-opening about the phenomenon. Thank you for the 5 months, Darko. You messaged me that the other day, I think, actually, and I downloaded it. I've got that. So maybe we can do a watch-along for that. I think that would be quite good. But I think I need to check it first to make sure that it doesn't have anything that's like too graphic to put on YouTube. But I think that could be a really interesting watch-along. Aaron Clark, sir, thank you very much for the membership, the gifted membership. And Darko also gifted 5 as well. Darko, legend, sir. And you too, Aaron. Appreciate you, boys. Thank you very much for the love. All right, let's carry on. We've got to keep the show moving. The show must go on. It must. And this is really interesting here. So this guy basically is calling out I'm gonna have to make this a little bit smaller so we can see the whole thing because it's important for this one. Is calling out Chris Bledsoe, and this is a little 1-minute video of him like debunking this orb here. Check it out. Okay, we don't love music.
With me as I turn this porch light into a UFO. Oh my gosh, guys! First of all, there's an orb. You see the orb? See the blue orb? Oh, it's in front of my finger now. Here, I'm going to put the orb onto the light point that we're going to turn into a UFO. That light point right there, okay? So I'm going to get that light point out of focus. And now we're going to ask AI to up-res that photo. AI does this 100% of the time. It takes the fuzzy exterior of a bokeh and it turns it into a glassy sphere with something in the center. I also made this one with a random out-of-focus point of light in a different video from Chris Bledsoe. Notice that it looks identical to the thing that he is calling an unedited image of an orb. Never listen to Peter Osborne or Chris Bledsoe using the words raw or unedited. They don't know what those words mean.
I mean, I think we should say, first of all, I did note that he didn't do an acknowledgement of country to the Bledsoes before he made this video, which is, you know, it could cause him to not be saved when the angels come, but I still have this man in my prayers. I do think this is a problem. And what I mean by that is you just see these pictures that actually look like this all the time, like this. People, like the crop, the zoom in, the blurriness, and it's just like, dude, this could be anything. This could literally be anything. And it's a problem because, you know, I'm not going to like discount somebody for showing me it because I don't know, but also it's like, this does not count. This does not count as hard evidence of an orb. This is a blurry photo of something that could be many things, including an orb, but also like a giant handful of other prosaic explanations as well, such as camera artifacts or whatever. And, you know, footnote, I would like to acknowledge the Bledsoes for bringing the orbs to our attention, of course. And also the fact that I do believe in them, that they're real. I've had an experience with what I think was one. But see, that's the difference. And I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal here. I actually think it's a flaw sometimes, because it's a double-edged sword. Because I had an experience with what I think was an orb. It displayed all the characteristics of an orb. But I still am like, oh man, but I don't know. Like, I can't prove it. I have footage of it, and I'm still like, I can't prove it. Then there are people like taking photos of this and being like, they came to me. Do you know what I mean? People will post those pictures and be like, they came to me. I'm chosen. And then, I had a CE5-esque experience with footage, and I'm kind of like, oh, but man, I don't know what the fuck it was. There's different kinds of people. And when people are posting pictures like this saying they came to me, I am just like, look, maybe, bro, maybe. Bledsoe is lying about all of the orbs he sees. I've seen one, though. Josh, no, Aegon. I think that's actually quite a retarded comment, and it's just a reflection of you misinterpreting me, unfortunately. But it's okay. It's okay. We all mess up sometimes, and we all make mistakes. This was in... Wait, no, is this... No, this is just the original footage. It was... Oh, where is it? Did I not save it? Damn it. Oh, no, here it is. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. So this guy, we've actually looked at some of this, some of his work previously on the channel. ProPixel Video Analysis and Research. This guy basically takes, like Skywatcher style footage of weird stuff in the sky and does a really good job at breaking it down. And he said, I just thought this was interesting because, again, this is a good photo. This has like a frame of reference. It's in a different spectrum. So, you can actually see kind of what's going on around the orb. He says, this is an actual orb that I caught in near IR, invisible to the eye, but the camera caught it. 850 nm to 1100 nm spectrum. It was next to the window and lit by the sun from the backside, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in size. I was standing 15 feet away using a 50mm lens. So again, it's not conclusive, but, a picture like this to me is worth more than the video than this video, in my opinion. Like a pitch black background like that, this just means nothing to me, unfortunately. And it's not because of the people who posted it at all. I like listening to Bledsoe. That's why I cover them, and I joke about them. The fact that, they think they own the orbs is like some kind of intellectual property. Or that you should at least speak about them whenever you mention them. But it is fun to point fun at them. It's fun to point fun at everyone. It's fun to point fun at myself, right? That's the fruit of life. But doesn't mean I'm not interested in their story or that I don't believe them. It's just, when you make posts saying, how dare you speak about the orbs without thanking the Bledsoes, you are basically saying, tease me. Well, that's what you're saying to me anyway. That's how I interpret that. If you're going to make a post like that, you're saying, Josh, tease me. And I oblige. I will not oblige. Okay, we're up to the next story. Okay, Spacey Casey. Spacey Casey. I had no idea who this woman was until this happened. She's apparently a country music singer. Her name is Casey Musgraves. And she goes by Spacey Casey on Instagram. And she had a pretty wild story. So we're going to play this clip from Red Panda Koala here. Shout out Red for clipping up, as always. This one did big numbers, nearly 1 mil. And this is Casey telling her story next to the footage. But after she tells it, I will blow the footage up a little bit bigger so you guys can actually see it. So this was on a plane from Arkansas to Tennessee. 3 orbs followed her plane. Let's take a listen.
So I just got off a plane. I flew from Fort Worth to Nashville. It was me and one of my managers, Bobby. And we just had the craziest fucking orb UFO experience. He saw it with me. This is not the first time I've seen many crazy things. I mean, literally, keep looking up. I've seen fire burning in the sky, things that I can't explain. So yeah, this is not the first time, but we just watched these orbs. There was 3 of them. I noticed them. I'm a noticer. I'm always noticing things, but I was about to lay down and take a nap, and I saw these lights that caught my eye that just didn't look normal. And I watched them for a minute, and they were definitely like trailing each other, moving really. Anyways, they were about 50,000 feet up probably. We watched them for maybe like 45 minutes. I have videos I'm going to post.
50,000 feet isn't that like above cruising altitude for like a normal passenger airliner? Pretty sure like a normal passenger plane cruises at like 40,000. How does she know it was 50,000? I think because she spoke to the pilots. Yeah, I think she'll get to that part in the story.
So yeah, it looks like I filmed them on a fucking toaster, but that's the quality. That's what we're working with. I have
Get Chris Bledsoe to enhance them.
I have an iPhone 17, so like, but it was just hard to focus because they were far off and it's night time. But like, these orbs were not moving like any craft that we can control. They were intermittently coming and going, forming triangle patterns. They were kind of an orangish color. Sometimes they would get extremely bright and change color, change size. The craziest thing is, so they followed us from about Little Rock area. That's when I noticed them, all the way to Nashville. And we landed, and Bobby and I were like, oh my God, like this was insane. The pilots come back. Anyway, the pilots, come back, open the door, whatever. And we're like, did y'all just see something weird? And they're like, 3 orbs off in the sky. And we were like, yeah. And both pilots were laughing kind of, and they were like, yeah, we've seen these every single night, and all the other pilots are seeing them too, and nobody knows what they are. And
every single night, all the other pilots are seeing them. Nobody knows what they are. Like, it seems like this stuff is way more common than we realize. She's a doof. Why do you feel like she's a doof? I actually think she seems just pretty normal. She's not being like sensationalist. She seems like she's just kind of telling a weird story. I don't get that vibe at all. Maybe if we just do look at them, they'll go away. Okay, interesting tactic, might work. Next time you fly, ask your pilot if they've seen orbs in the sky. Every pilot I've asked has said yes. Yeah. Yep. And there's a story of a what's it called when you're a pilot, like a private pilot? You know, you don't fly for an airline, you just have a pilot license. There's like a semi-famous pilot from Adelaide, where I'm from, who is a private pilot, who claims that he flew through the constellation of like 6 orange orbs in like the 90s in Adelaide.
And crazy. One of the pilots said, yeah, I was in New York last night and I saw him. And the other pilot said, yeah, and I was in Dallas and I saw him also. So yeah, shit is weird. But here.
Yep, it certainly is. It's been a weird week, actually.
Here for it. I am open to it. I'm here for it. But yeah, they were like changing direction with us. They were following the plane. So yeah, like I said.
Interesting. So let's actually have a look at our footage here. Make this a bit bigger.
my god, it's going so fast.
Wow. That's pretty wild. Like, look, you can see at the bottom here, they're, I don't know if they're at like 40,000 feet yet, but you can see like they're quite high up in the air in this plane. And look, you've got 1, 2, 3. And again, these things just look like they're moving on their axis. Like you see so many times in these UFO videos, you see 3 lights and it's like they're rigid in their formation. They might sort of expand or get smaller, but like the triangular formation is rigid and it's always kind of just like rotating in that formation, just like the triangle was at the start of this video, that UFO sighting.
Oh my god, it's going so fast.
So this is just multiple clips from the same flight at different times, I would assume, where these orbs are sort of parallel to their plane. The text at the bottom here says they kept up with the plane for hundreds of miles. 100% that's a triangular craft with lights on the tip. I mean, I do think that sometimes, but I mean, look at the size of this thing, right? If this is, I mean, it's hard to gauge the size, obviously, but it feels like, you know, looking at these lights here, they're not close, but they're also quite far apart. So, and they're also rotating on all the, like this kind of wild axis. If it were a craft, it would be huge. It would be huge. I think it's too big. But, I mean, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I thought that was interesting. And this was funny as well. So, Mick West knows best, and Bledsoe said so. He says, the Casey Musgraves UFO sighting video has been identified by Flarkey as being 100% consistent with Starlink horizon flares. Her plane was in the flare zone for the entire flight, and the flares appeared in the right position, moving and fading at the same speed as seen on the blah, 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 whatever. And Casey says, hey, Mick, if you zoom way into the videos, you can also see a really clear angle of Bigfoot riding your mum. Take that, Mick West. You got to love it. You got to love it when people just clap back a little bit. Obviously, I respect that. And she, you know, maybe Mick is right, and that's okay. But I still respect the clap back from Casey. You got to love it. Jen sent this one in just before the stream started. Just another interesting old video, 7 years ago, actually, of orbs next to a plane. And I'm sharing it, you know, not because the video is sort of conclusive and, you know, it's not going to give us disclosure, but I've done videos talking about the fact that, like, there is some weird connection between orbs and planes. Like, you know, not all planes get followed by orbs, but there is a lot of cases of that happening. And you've got obviously the MH370 thing, which we're about to get to, but you've also got, you know, the Concorde, footage of the Concorde being surrounded by orbs. You've got Chris Ramsey filming like one of the best Tic Tac videos that we have from his seat on a plane of like a Tic Tac near the plane. Like, just so much weird shit around orbs and planes. But this is the ultimate weird shit between orbs and planes. My favorite. Are you serious? Are you serious? I am. Says unrelated. Would you make an OSRS channel? Yes, I would. I actually filmed a bunch of footage to do a series, and then I realized I don't have time to do that. But I would like to stream some video games soon. So OSRS would definitely be a part of that when I start doing that. Yes, absolutely. Shogun Order says, I think the aliens use people like Casey Musgraves because she is a normie, and so she is a means to spread UFO stuff to normies through her. Yeah, that could definitely be happening for sure. It's kind of like I feel like that's a crazy way to do it, is to get 3 orbs to be visible to an entire city and including an entire, plane full of people as well. I feel like that's a kind of an extravagant way to target an individual. But it could be happening either in that way or in a more subtle way, perhaps. I definitely agree that these people could be used as like a means of, like a conduit of information. So here we go. This came out, all right? It's been debunked, people. It's been debunked. The MH370 videos are a hoax. And here is a picture of the kid doing it from Ashland High School in the computer science lab. See, you can see the sign. It says it right here. And look, here it is. They got a picture of him working on it. It's incredible, really. But let's read this. So Dave, who is a Star Trek sports card, airplanes, UW Huskies, MH370, Springer Spaniels, common sense, unapologetically America first, says this. Breaking MH370 teleportation video hoaxer identified. After nearly 12 years, the creator of the viral MH370 orb teleportation videos has been identified. Rowan Callahan, now 25, has come forward and said that he created both clips in 2014 as a middle schooler in Oregon while experimenting with basic VFX editing tools after school. I was just messing around with Photoshop, Blender, and After Effects and some early VFX stuff because I'd just gotten the video Copilot Jetstrike pack and wanted to see what I could make with it. You have to understand the videos weren't meant to be anything serious, just a plane and some effects. Nothing serious, and that's why I tried to fake NROL coordinates at the bottom of the video that just happened to actually match up to a real-life satellite, but it was nothing serious. According to Callahan, the videos were never intended to be tied to MH370. He says he shared short clips in an online gaming chat at the time, where 2 users later approached him asking for the files. They offered to buy the videos. I didn't think much of it. I was a kid. And kids aren't exactly rolling in dough, so I was like, hell yeah, why not? And I ended up sending them over. Those files would later surface online under the now infamous Regicide Anon account, framed as leaked footage of MH370. Callahan says he didn't realize how the clips were being used until much later. I figured maybe they were using it for a project or indie game they were making or something. I didn't think anyone would believe that videos that looked like those did could actually be real. He also pointed out details that, in hindsight, should have been obvious red flags. Static cloud layers that don't move. Frozen ocean texture beneath the aircraft. A stock 777 model with a generic livery that doesn't match Malaysia Airlines. Once they surfaced on YouTube and Reddit, I just assumed that people would immediately recognize them as fake. Despite years of analysis and multiple independent debunks, the videos have continued circulating as evidence in conspiracy circles. Once confirmed, this will close one of the most persistent and pernicious internet hoaxes tied to the MH370 tragedy. More details to come. Not a single source link, not a link to Rowan's account, literally nothing. This is just text rehashing all of the versions of debunks that have existed with a new character that there is no evidence of, and a nice AI photo of said person that, I really think people see this and read this and are just straight up like, oh, okay, I guess it was debunked then. Yep. Oh, damn. They even they got a photo of Rowan here. Oh, look. Somehow Rowan's home screen on his Apple iPhone is there too. That just seems to be like perfectly illuminated, just like his screen seems to be perfectly illuminated as well. Damn, they got a photo of Rowan, and turns out he was just using Copilot effects, and someone just wanted to buy his random shit bedroom project off him and use it in an international psyop operation. Some people in the CIA thought, I'm going to try and trick the entire world. Should we get a professional to maybe make it so it's extremely convincing? No. Let's go onto a video game forum and spend money on purchasing fake footage of a random 15-year-old. That'll trick him. And you know, by the 15-year-old's own admission, where was it here? Here. I didn't think anything would believe that videos that looked like those could actually be real. So it's basically saying this 15-year-old never thought anyone thought his videos could be real, but people who want to create a psyop from, say, I mean, like, this must be, like, he's basically saying people could have bought them to create, like, a psyop around this, which I'm assuming would be, like, an intelligence agency, right? Like, who else is doing that? Who else is paying money to do that? Well, those people obviously must have thought it was good enough. This is retarded, people. Now, if this person comes forward, if this Rowan actually exists, I would like to say, first of all, I want to see the source files. I want to see the source files of this. Until then, I think, you know, everything here is just words. And I think it's funny that people will just read this, and this text post from Dave, also known as Diork55, just this pure text post with no sources, no links, no tags to who Rowan is. He's just a name and an AI picture right now. People will read that and think that confirms that it is a hoax, despite that the argument against it being a hoax is like a really deep dive investigation that has a lot of evidence that suggests otherwise. But people will read this post, see an AI picture, confirm their preconceived bias or the idea that a plane just couldn't be teleported because the government told me so. That's enough to convince them. And then there was this as well, which again, this is interesting, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is like, I think anyone could make this. It's literally just a text document. I could type this up now, apply a dark mode color filter to it, and now I have the same thing. Doesn't mean it's not real, but doesn't mean it is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, anyone can make this. This isn't really, it's not proof of anything. It's not really proof of anything. And for anyone who maybe missed it, it's basically like a receipt of a transaction between icgazejpg at gmail.com to Regicidanon at Proton Mail. Reginon 2014. Just so you know, that's the year that this all happened. I don't know. It just seems weird to me, and I had to put my 2 cents in. I don't like to always do that, but you know, it's true. People be wild out here. People are claiming that this iPhone model didn't exist yet. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked into it that deep, but look, there you go. See? And just leaked. Breaking. Just leaked. The phone of Edward Lin. And guys, we can see it's the phone of Edward Lin because see, it says Edward Lin on his phone. So we know. So now, because it says Edward Lin here, we know that this is a real photo, right? We know that this is a real photo of Edward Lin because we can see Edward Lin, and he went to the Regicidanon High School where the MH370 videos are real. So we know that it's real now because we can see it. So now all evidence that suggests it isn't goes out the window. Goes out the window. Critical thought gone off the 39th story. Gone. I saw it on X. Dave Diork55 said it on X with a post that had no sources, no citations, no tags, just a basic text post. So all critical thought gets stomped on, spat on, and put in the bin. Am I right? I think I'm right. In the nature of being balanced, though, I want to say that if Rowan Callahan exists and if he really did make these videos, I would love to see the source files. And to really put this thing to bed, I would like to volunteer to mediate a debate between Rowan and Ashton. And I obviously tend to believe that the videos are real. I don't think Ashton and Rowan should have a conversation themselves because I think that would spiral into an argument. I would like to mediate the debate because I think having the responsibility of being the mediator would force me to be more impartial. And if it is true, and he actually does have the source files, let's see them. I'm happy to put my hand up and say this is one of the greatest hoaxes of all time. And I want to allow people to make sure they both get time to say their part and explain themselves and, you know, inject questions that I think help elicit each side of the argument better and, you know, get answers to the questions that both people are looking for. I think that would be a great debate to put this thing to bed. What did Ashton say, or did I miss it? I don't know if he commented on it. I think we all know what Ashton thinks. He'd probably think this guy's retarded. And understandably so. It's understandable to think that. All right. Last segment of the show, we have a little watch along here, little creator shout out. By the way, CMTL7CV, you little freak. Thank you very much for becoming a member. We're going to wrap up the show today with a watch along. It's just a 20-minute video, and it is similar to something that we watched. And we're live. And we're back. Okay. 20 minutes. You guys really liked the Gnostic allegory of the Truman Show. This is Donnie Darko. Now, look, probably spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen Donnie Darko by now, I haven't seen shit, and even I've seen it. Okay, this thing came out in it came out in 2001. So it's 2026 now. So if I see anyone complaining about spoiler alerts in the chat, you will be muted. I need to go to the bathroom quickly, but here we go. I'm going to press play.
Richard Kelly wrote and directed Donnie Darko in 2001.
Did you guys have sound for that? You didn't. Sorry. My bad. We'll play it again.
At 30,000 feet above suburban Virginia.
My apologies.
And drops straight through the roof of a house, destroying a teenager's bedroom while he sleeps somewhere else. The Federal Aviation Administration investigates and finds nothing. No explanation, no source. The engine exists. The damage is real. But according to every system designed to track objects in American airspace, that engine shouldn't exist at all. This is how Donnie Darko begins. Not with explanation, not with comfortable context, but with an event that violates the rules of reality so fundamentally that the authorities simply close the case and move on, because acknowledging what happened would require admitting the world doesn't work the way they've been trained to believe it works. And Donnie Darko, the teenage boy who should have died under that engine, stands in the wreckage of his bedroom and asks the question nobody else seems interested in asking.
You got P audio?
Why am I still alive?
You guys
Richard
got P
Kelly
audio?
wrote
My
and directed
apologies.
Donnie Darko in 2001. He was 26 years old, making his first feature film.
You're going to have to get used to that if we live at the compound together. That's, you know, we're going to get close like that. That's just going to be part of the compound life.
On a budget so small, they could barely afford the rights to the 1980s songs that saturate the soundtrack. The film released in October 2001, less than a month after September 11th, in a cultural moment when nobody wanted to watch a movie about suburban apocalypse and jet engines falling from the sky. It bombed commercially, disappeared from theaters within weeks, and should have been forgotten entirely. Except it wasn't. Something about the film wouldn't let go of the people who saw it. It spread through word of mouth, through bootleg copies, through late-night college dorm screenings and internet forums where people tried desperately to decode what they'd just witnessed. By 2004, it had become a cult phenomenon, a midnight movie that sold out theaters, a cultural artifact that inspired thousands of pages of analysis trying to explain its dense, deliberately cryptic narrative about time travel, parallel universes, sacrifice, and a teenage boy who might be schizophrenic, or might be the only person seeing reality clearly. What almost nobody noticed, what the endless debates about the film's timeline and physics missed entirely, is that Donnie Darko isn't primarily about time travel at all. It's a Gnostic allegory so precise, so structurally faithful to ancient Gnostic cosmology, that it functions as a modern translation of texts written 1,800 years ago, describing reality as a prison, humanity as trapped in ignorance, and awakening as a catastrophic process that destroys the comfortable illusions keeping you safely asleep. The film opens with Donnie waking on a golf course at dawn, having sleepwalked there during the night. This isn't incidental. He's been called out of his normal sleeping place, pulled away from the location where he was supposed to die, by a force he doesn't understand operating through mechanisms he can't see. When he returns home and discovers the engine has destroyed his bedroom, his family treats it as a miracle, as inexplicable good fortune that he happened to be somewhere else when death came calling. But Donnie doesn't experience it as fortune. He experiences it as the beginning of something wrong, the first crack in consensus reality's facade. Because the engine shouldn't exist. Nobody can explain where it came from, and the fact that everyone around him accepts this impossibility and moves on, that they rebuild the bedroom and resume normal life without demanding answers to questions that have no answers, this disturbs Donnie more than the near-death experience itself. He starts seeing Frank. The rabbit figure who called him out of the house appears again, visible only to Donnie, speaking to him in a voice that seems to come from inside his head and outside simultaneously. Frank tells Donnie the world will end in 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. A countdown begins, and Frank starts giving Donnie instructions, tasks that seem random or destructive, but that Donnie feels compelled to follow despite not understanding their purpose.
Yeah, I've been there, Donnie. I've absolutely been there. Getting messages that you feel compelled to follow, but you don't know why or where they're coming from. Does that make me schizophrenic too? Is this like the beginning of a schizophrenic diagnosis, people? Achy balls, my man, keeping the lights on. Dude, thank you so much. Dropping $100 super chats all the time. He says, I hope that when the world comes to an end, I can breathe a sigh of relief because there will be so much to look forward to. Donnie. Thank you very much, bro. And this movie, I actually watched this movie quite recently, and it's one of those ones that I felt kind of like Fight Club in a way, where as I'm watching it, there's sort of so many interesting little things I'm picking up on, but I'm not really making sense of them at the time. And then once the movie ends, it kind of ends and you're kind of put in this place of like having to be like, wait, okay, so, you know, you got to try to put the pieces together a little bit. And it kind of makes you want to go back and rewatch it, because you almost need to watch it through once to then shift your mindset when you watch it again to like pick up more things. Fantastic movie. And thank you very much for the quote there, Aki. Appreciate you, bro. I think I did have a couple of others, and They've disappeared. Sorry, 1 second. I just want to catch up. Dancing your urinome with 1 month. I probably butchered your name. I apologize. Thank you, Josh, for bringing us all together. Curiosity, ADHD, and weirdness combined. I love it here. Yes, absolutely. We're like Captain Planet. We are like Captain Planet with our powers combined. ADHD, schizophrenia, curiosity, weirdness. We create Captain Weirdo, which is me. All right, let's keep going.
His therapist increases his medication. His parents worry he's having a psychotic break. His teachers don't know how to handle a student who's started questioning everything, who challenges the self-help guru visiting the school, who floods the building and burns down a house, and argues that fear and love aren't opposite ends of a spectrum, but that fear is the only real human motivation, and everything else is constructed delusion designed to make the fear bearable. The film presents 2 possible readings simultaneously and refuses to definitively choose between them. Donnie might be mentally ill, experiencing hallucinations and delusions that his untreated schizophrenia is manifesting as apocalyptic visions and
feel you, Donnie. I feel you.
And hallucinations from a figure in a rabbit costume. Or, Donnie might be the only person seeing clearly, the only one awake in a world designed to keep everyone asleep.
Yep.
And his illness is actually gnosis, the dangerous knowledge that the reality everyone accepts as solid and real is actually constructed, temporary, and about to collapse.
Hey, that is the face of a man who gets it. That's the face of a man who has spent nights going down the rabbit hole and realizing it all comes back to the same place. That's the face of a man who realized all roads lead to Babylon, baby.
This ambiguity is itself Gnostic, because in Gnostic thought, the person who awakens, who begins seeing through the material world's illusion, appears insane to everyone still trapped in the illusion. They speak truths that sound like madness. They perceive realities others can't access. They're called prophets by some and lunatics by others, and there's no external test to definitively prove which interpretation is correct, because the very nature of gnosis is that it's individual, experiential, unavailable to those who haven't awakened. Frank functions as Donnie's guide, his psychopomp, the figure calling him toward knowledge that will destroy his comfortable existence. But Frank isn't benevolent. He's disturbing, threatening, grotesque. The rabbit mask he wears is rotting, decayed, the eye bulging unnaturally from the silver skull beneath. He doesn't offer comfort, he offers commands. He tells Donnie to commit crimes, to destroy property, to act in ways that will get him arrested or institutionalized or killed. This maps precisely onto the Gnostic concept of the call. In texts like the Hymn of the Pearl, the divine messenger who comes to wake the sleeping soul doesn't arrive as peaceful enlightenment. The call is violent, disruptive, catastrophic to the life you were living. It tears you out of the comfortable sleep you didn't know you were in. It makes you see the prison you were inhabiting as home. And everyone around you, everyone still asleep, treats your awakening as breakdown, as something that needs to be medicated, or punished, or contained. Donnie's parents love him, but can't help him because they're part of the system he's waking from. His therapist increases his medication, trying to suppress the visions rather than understand them. His teachers want him to conform, to stop asking questions that don't have approved answers. Even his girlfriend Gretchen, who loves him and tries to support him, can't see what he sees, can't access the reality he's perceiving behind consensus reality's facade. The film's antagonist, if it has one, is Jim Cunningham, the motivational speaker who visits Donnie's school, preaching a self-help gospel of fear versus love. Cunningham's entire philosophy is designed to keep people functional within the system, to give them simple binaries that prevent deeper questioning. He's extraordinarily successful, wealthy, admired, the kind of figure parents point to as someone who's figured out how life works. Donnie sees through him immediately. He stands up in the school assembly and calls Cunningham's philosophy the worst shit I've ever heard, which gets him in trouble.
Based Donnie. What was it Donnie don't? in Robert Dean's story about the boy from the jungle who got thrust into Fortitude Valley? Donnie Don't just couldn't hack it.
But which Frank later validates by leading Donnie to Cunningham's house, where Donnie discovers a secret room filled with child pornography. The pillar of the community, the man teaching children how to live successfully, is revealed as a predator.
No. No. Surely not. Surely not. People in the upper elite rings of society are predators. This movie is crazy. This movie, no wonder this movie didn't do well. No wonder this movie didn't do well.
As someone whose public persona is constructed precisely to hide what he actually is. This is pure Gnostic cosmology. The archons, the rulers of this world, the authorities who present themselves as guides and protectors, are actually predators.
Put that on a t-shirt. Actually, probably don't. It's quite dark, but man. Shit's fucking crazy. It really is. It really is. And that's why when you start realizing it, just like in this movie and in this Gnostic allegory, when you start realizing it and you start seeing it, you become the crazy person. Because you're like, hang on, this world is actually like ran by crazy people, like literally sick, crazy people. And we're just meant to like pretend that it's not, or be oblivious to that fact. And then when you go, I think they might be ran by crazy people, you get diagnosed with schizophrenia. Hey, stop noticing too much. Take these pills.
They maintain the system that keeps people asleep because the sleep serves their interests. They preach philosophies of compliance disguised as wisdom. They punish those who question, who see.
Sorry to keep pausing it, but he's just saying some bangers. They preach philosophies of compliance disguised as wisdom. People, go and... No, look, I'm not going to shit on religion and churches and things like that. I'm not going to do that. But, you know, just remember that. Just remember that quote.
Who see through, who refuse to accept the binary choices they offer. And they're protected by the system itself, by everyone who benefits from not looking too closely, from accepting appearances as truth. The film's timeline is deliberately confusing, looping back on itself, presenting events that seem to happen in multiple versions simultaneously. Donnie receives a book called The Philosophy of Time Travel from his elderly neighbor Roberta Sparrow, who everyone calls Grandma Death because she stands by her mailbox every day, waiting for a letter that never comes. The book describes tangent universes, offline timelines that branch from the primary universe and must collapse back into it or risk destroying everything. According to the book's logic, which the film presents but never definitively endorses, Donnie is living in a tangent universe that began when the jet engine fell. He's been chosen as the living receiver, someone with unique abilities to manipulate elements within the tangent universe to guide it back toward collapse before it takes the primary universe with it. The manipulated dead, people who die within the tangent universe, can contact the living receiver and help guide the process. Frank is one of these, killed by Donnie in a future that hasn't happened yet, but that's already happened within the tangent timeline.
Alex says, you start talking about reptilian moon bases and Jews, and suddenly you're a schizophrenic who is a danger to themselves and others. I know. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy that you can't talk about reptilian moon bases and Jews without all of a sudden being a schizo? God.
If this sounds confusing, that's intentional. The film refuses to clarify its own mechanics, refuses to explain definitively whether this metaphysical framework is real or whether it's Donnie's elaborate delusional system giving structure to his psychotic break.
Can't we just live a little?
And the refusal to clarify is the point, because Gnosticism doesn't offer clear explanations accessible to rational analysis. It offers experiential knowledge, revelation that makes sense to the person receiving it, but that can't be adequately communicated to or verified by others. Donnie performs the tasks Frank assigns him,
Oh, AJ says Kyle off to visit his priest. Dude, that's so interesting because like I can kind of see parallels in that. I can see parallels in the way Donnie Darko gets these like he's going through like this harrowing, mind-bending time that would, feel like you're losing your mind. Meanwhile, he's like seeing this entity that's telling him to go and do crazy shit. And I see there's actually a lot of parallels to the Kyle Odom story of like seeing these reptilians and basically like destroying his life day in, day out. And then he ends up going to try and shoot one of them, which is, exactly what Donnie Darko did as well. Obviously, there's no reptilians in this movie, but like a lot of parallels there.
He floods the school.
Kyle Odom got parole last month. He's a free man. No way. I don't believe that. Chat, can someone investigate that for me while we're watching this? If Kyle Odom is out in the public and a free man, we have to get him on the channel. If Kyle Odom is accessible, I have to talk to him.
The school. He burns down Cunningham's house, exposing him. He influences others through mechanisms the film suggests but doesn't explain. The manipulated living, drawn to the living receiver, compelled to help the process without understanding why. His English teacher assigns the class to read The Destructors, Graham Greene's story about teenage boys methodically destroying a house, which mirrors what Donnie is doing to the fabric of his reality. Halloween arrives. Donnie and Gretchen go to a party. Frank appears, driving a car, and runs over Gretchen, killing her. Donnie shoots Frank in the eye, killing him in turn, which means Frank can now become one of the manipulated dead, can travel back in time wearing the rabbit costume to call Donnie out of his bedroom on the night the engine falls. The timeline loops, the paradox completes, and Donnie understands what he has to do. The tangent universe must collapse. The primary universe must be restored. And for that to happen, he must return to his bedroom, must lie down in his bed, must allow the jet engine to fall through the roof and kill him. His death is the sacrifice required to close the loop, to prevent the tangent universe from expanding until it destroys everything. He goes home. He lies down. He waits. And he laughs. The film shows him laughing in his bed as the engine falls, as death comes for him in the form of a piece of machinery that will crush him in his sleep. He's laughing because he knows. He sees what nobody else sees. He understands the sacrifice he's making. And there's something liberating in it, something that makes the horror bearable. The knowledge that his death will save everyone, even though none of them will know it happened. The tangent universe collapses. Reality resets. Everyone wakes up on October 2nd again. But this time, Donnie doesn't wake on the golf course. He dies in his bedroom. The jet engine kills him. And everyone who is part of the tangent universe, everyone whose life was touched by Donnie's existence during those 28 days, wakes with a vague sense of something they can't quite remember. A dream they had, a person they knew, a feeling that something important happened, but they can't access the memory directly. Gretchen rides her bike past Donnie's house. She waves at his mother. Neither knows why. They've never met in this timeline. But somewhere beneath conscious memory, in the place where the manipulated living retain traces of the tangent universe, they recognize each other. The connection exists even though the events that created it have been erased.
Isn't that crazy? Doesn't it make you, start thinking about like, when you see someone on the street and you're like, man, that guy looks familiar, but like I have no idea who it is. Or, you have those little moments of like, it feels like you sort of, your consciousness kind of like shifts, or you have like, what's it called? Deja vu. I had the craziest deja vu right here, like a few days ago. Like it was like going for, felt like 30 seconds and I felt like I had like seen sitting here in a dream before. It was like so visceral. Anyway, I'll shut up and keep going.
This is the Gnostic escape, not into a better material reality, not into heaven or paradise or any comfortable destination, but out of the prison entirely, through sacrifice, through the willingness to be destroyed so that others can continue existing in the illusion without the catastrophic awakening that would come if the tangent universe persisted and they had to confront what reality actually is. Donnie is the Gnostic Christ figure. He descends into matter, into flesh, into a specific time and place. He awakens to knowledge that isolates him from everyone around him. He perceives realities others can't access. He's guided by a figure from beyond the material realm. He performs tasks that appear destructive, but that serve a purpose invisible to those who judge him. And ultimately, he sacrifices himself to save a world that will never know he saved it, that will remember him, if at all, as a troubled teenager who died in a freak accident. The film's structure mirrors Gnostic texts precisely. It presents a cosmology where this reality isn't the only reality, where what we perceive as solid and permanent is actually one timeline among many, where the normal world is a kind of prison that someone from outside must enter to liberate those trapped within. It shows awakening as painful, isolating, catastrophic to normal functioning. It presents authority figures as either clueless or actively malevolent, preaching philosophies designed to keep people compliant. And it ends with sacrifice, with the awakened one choosing death to preserve the sleep of those who can't handle awakening. Richard Kelly almost certainly didn't set out to create a Gnostic allegory. He's said in interviews that the film is about adolescence, about the feeling that the world adults have created is fake and wrong, about the apocalyptic intensity of teenage emotion. But consciously intended or not, he created one of the most precise cinematic translations of Gnostic cosmology since The Matrix. Possibly more precise because it's less obvious, less designed, less self-aware about its own mythological structure. The film works on multiple levels simultaneously. You can watch it as a science fiction story about time travel and enjoy the puzzle of its timeline. You can watch it as a psychological drama about mental illness and sympathize with a teenager losing his grip on reality. You can watch it as a coming-of-age story about first love and loss and the violence of growing up in a world that doesn't make sense. All these readings are valid. The film supports them. But underneath all of them runs the Gnostic current, the sense that consensus reality is constructed, that awakening to truth is catastrophic, that the authorities maintaining the system are either blind or corrupt, that genuine knowledge isolates you from everyone still asleep.
Yep.
That sacrifice might be required to protect others from truths they can't handle.
And they display that in an interesting way in the movie. When his girlfriend kind of like isn't able to kind of grasp what he's seeing, what he's trying to explain to her, what, you know, the way he sees the world, his perspective. You see that with, well, I know people experience that, right? And a lot of you guys tell me this as well, that like people are trying to tell their partners about this, or people at work or whatever. And some people just like either don't get it, they don't want to know, and or they can't handle it. They can't handle it. And that's not because like they're weak or anything. It's not like a bad thing, but it's just like if someone isn't ready to hear this kind of stuff, and what ready means and what constitutes being ready to hear this, I don't really know what it is. But if you're not ready, trying to force it on them is like super damaging, I think, to them ever wanting to hear it, and also probably damaging to just your relationship with them, because you're going to come across like a psycho Bible basher but in a conspiratorial sense. So that's why I always say you should never force any of this stuff on people. And even if you feel like, you know, you're quite deep in the rabbit hole, you know, perhaps you've learned that all roads lead to Babylon. When someone asks you like, so what's really going on? I probably wouldn't give them like the bottom of the rabbit hole answer. I'd probably feed them something up near the top, like, yeah, there are all these like Air Force whistleblowers coming out saying that they've seen something in the sky, but we don't really know what it is yet. But they're doing a few hearings, so it should be interesting. Just give them that. Just give them that, and you know that'll be happy. You don't need to tell them about Baal and Babylon and you know, who runs the world and why we're in a constant state of war. You know, you don't need to tell them all that kind of stuff. Just keep it light, keep it fun, plant the seeds.
And that the world we inhabit is a tangent universe, a deviation from something more real that we've forgotten and can't access, except through revelation that destroys comfortable existence. Donnie dies laughing because he knows something nobody else knows. He sees what they can't see. And the knowledge, terrible as it is worth the price. That's the Gnostic promise and curse. Gnosis liberates you from the illusion, but destroys your ability to function comfortably within it.
Ooh. Or did that just feel like a little bit of a shotgun to the chest for anybody? Did that feel like a shotgun to the chest for anybody?
But destroys your ability to function comfortably within it. You become a stranger in a world you were born into, awake among sleepers, seeing through structures everyone else accepts as solid and permanent.
The film asks whether that awakening is worth it.
I'm just taking shots to the chest here.
And suffer the
That was a poor choice of wording. I'm taking gunshots to the chest here.
Isolation and ultimately sacrifice yourself, or to remain asleep in comfortable ignorance, going through the motions of a life that feels increasingly hollow, but at least feels stable. Donnie chooses awakening. He follows Frank out of his bedroom, out of safety, into knowledge that will kill him. And the film presents that choice as simultaneously tragic and heroic, as both the destruction of a promising life and the fulfillment of a purpose nobody else could serve. That ambiguity, that refusal to moralize or clarify or tell the audience how to interpret what they've witnessed, makes Donnie Darko more Gnostic than any film that wears its Gnosticism obviously. Because Gnosticism doesn't offer comfortable conclusions. It offers dangerous questions.
It's so true. Like, there are Gnostic... God damn it. God damn this internet. Freaking hell. God damn it. Sorry, guys. I'm going to figure this out soon. This will stop.
That isolates. It offers sacrifice as the only meaningful response to a world gone wrong in ways only you can see. 20 years after its release, Donnie Darko remains difficult to parse, impossible to definitively explain, endlessly rewatchable, because it never fully reveals itself. That's not a flaw in the filmmaking. That's the point. Some truths can't be stated clearly. Some knowledge can't be transmitted directly. Some realities can only be glimpsed, experienced, lived through rather than explained. The film is a transmission, not an argument. It shows rather than tells. And what it shows, for those willing to see it, is the Gnostic vision of reality as prison, awakening as catastrophe, and sacrifice as the only escape that doesn't abandon everyone still trapped inside.
Damn. That's crazy. That was a really good video. I really liked that. I don't know if it was with you guys recently that I spoke about, or we listened to something where they were saying, you know, I guess it was something about the idea of we're all sort of here like scrambling to figure out what's going on, right? Like, what is the meaning of this? Why are we here? What is these things in the sky? What are these dimensions? You know, all this kind of thing. I think it might have been Alan Watts. I don't know who it was I was listening to, but I think it was Alan Watts. He was saying how the point of painting a picture or the point of dancing is not to finish the dance. Like, you don't, well, actually, maybe painting's a bit of a bad example, but dancing, let's just use dancing. You don't dance to finish the dance and get to the end of it. You dance because the point of dancing is the dance itself. Like, it's the enjoyment, the acts of doing it, the experience, rather than finishing the dance. And I kind of think you can almost apply that sometimes to this here, like what we're doing. Like, I think sometimes people get so frustrated that there's no answers. Me too, by the way. But I think it's important, and it's like there's a little bit of like, you know, it's like a little bit of a release to remember that, like, I know Krista just said it, and I was trying not to say it, but it is the best way to just say it, that it's about the journey, not the destination, and that real disclosure is the friends that we made along the way. I didn't want to say it, but it's just the best way to explain it. And, you know, it might be true. It might be true. Yeah, and because, you know, the thing is, Nick Pope spent a lot of his life chasing UFOs and trying to figure out answers. He's no longer with us, and he probably now has all of those answers that he was looking for, which makes you wonder, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do spending your time here? You know what I'm saying? Doxed Watson says, I'm starting to question your commitment to sparkle motion. Well, I think that would be fair to question my commitment to sparkle motion because I have no fucking idea what it is. Kelly Hall says 50% off at your local mental health facility today only. That is right, people. If you enjoyed this stream, make sure you like it so you can get 50% off at your local mental health facility today only. If you want to get yourself a nice Polarity garment, or maybe in a hoodie, or maybe even a oversized tee with the seraphim in the middle, right on the chest, you can get it right here. Polarity store is linked below. Get yourself some nice merch, support the channel. Also, other side, follow me on Instagram at Polarity Josh. You can also become a member, get one of those cool badges next to your name. Just here. And there will also be, I'm in the works of coming up with some new concepts for members only content. Because it's hard. Like, I don't like to create and then not show everybody. You know what I mean? So it's hard. I'm figuring it out now. Members only content, members section of our Discord. That'll be over there. Also, one last thing is, you can also buy me coffee, but that wasn't it. Chris Ramsey podcast will be out within 24 hours. So that is coming out, I think, at 8 p.m. Eastern, Sunday night. Anyway, it's already scheduled on my channel. So if you want to know when it is, just click on my name below, go to the videos, and there's a premiere schedule with Chris Ramsey, 2 hours. It was a really cool conversation. I actually had a really, really good time talking to him. Really nice guy. And I'm excited to link up with him again in the future. But guys, thank you for hanging out today. Weird Week is always a very fun time. You guys are awesome. Shout out to you, Armin, in the chat. I see you there, man. I appreciate you. And all the weirdos. Thank you to the mods. I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I hope you have a great weekend or Saturday night, whatever it is. And I'll see all of you guys very, very soon. But also, as special request, we have our old weirdo anthem to take us out today. Take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.
I'm just a glitch away. I'm just a pulse away. Losing my veil today. The cloaking from the edge today. I am just a human, not augmented. I'm not augmented. Someone wake me from the trance. Just another up, just another bloodline torn. We're learning from the truth today. Just a step from the edge, just another day in the world they ran. I need a weirdo. can believe.